The idea of California seceding from the United States, often dubbed Calexit, has long been relegated to the fringes of political discourse. Once a whisper in the wind, it has gained momentum in recent years, fueled by a growing sense of alienation among some Californians. This essay delves into the complex tapestry of motivations driving this movement, examining its historical context, economic underpinnings, and the formidable challenges it faces. The potential ramifications of California's secession extend far beyond the Golden State's borders. As the world's fifth largest economy and a global leader in technology, entertainment, and environmental policy, an independent California would send shockwaves through the global order. This essay will explore the potential consequences of such a seismic shift, both for the United States and the world at large. Finally, we will delve into the future prospects of Calexit, examining the likelihood of a referendum and the formidable legal and logistical hurdles that stand in its path. As the nation grapples with increasing polarization and political division, the question of California's place within the Union remains a pressing and uncertain one. At the heart of the Calexit movement lies a potent economic argument. California boasts a GDP of nearly $4 trillion, surpassing that of the United Kingdom and India. This economic powerhouse is driven by a diverse portfolio of industries, from the technological innovation of Silicon Valley to the agricultural bounty of the Central Valley. California's tech sector, anchored by giants like Apple, Google, and Tesla, is a global leader in innovation and entrepreneurship. Hollywood continues to reign supreme as the entertainment capital of the world, exporting its cultural products to every corner of the globe. Meanwhile, California's fertile lands produce a significant portion of the nation's fruits, vegetables, and nuts, solidifying its role as an agricultural powerhouse. This economic strength fuels the belief among some Californians that the state could not only survive, but thrive as an independent nation. They argue that California contributes more in federal taxes than it receives in return, suggesting that independence would free up resources for investment within the state. However, critics counter that secession would sever California from vital federal funding streams and disrupt its deep economic integration with the rest of the country. To understand the roots of the Calexit movement, one must delve into the unique history of California. From its indigenous roots to its Spanish and Mexican heritage, California has long been a land of cultural fusion and independent spirit. The discovery of gold in 1848 triggered a massive influx of fortune seekers, forever altering the state's trajectory. The gold rush transformed California from a sparsely populated territory into a bustling hub of economic activity. It also solidified California's reputation as a land of opportunity and a magnet for those seeking a fresh start. This spirit of independence and self-reliance is deeply ingrained in the state's DNA and continues to shape its political landscape. California's history is also marked by a tradition of progressive activism and a commitment to social justice. From the labor movement of the early 20th century to the fight for LGBTQ+ rights, Californians have consistently been at the forefront of social change. This progressive spirit has often put the state at odds with the more conservative policies of the federal government, further fueling the desire for greater autonomy. The Calexit movement is fueled in part by a growing sense among some Californians that their values no longer align with those of the nation as a whole. On issues ranging from immigration to climate change, California has charted a distinctly progressive course, often finding itself at odds with the policies emanating from Washington, D.C. California's commitment to environmental protection stands in stark contrast to the federal government's rollback of environmental regulations. The state's sanctuary city policies, which limit cooperation with federal immigration enforcement, have drawn the ire of the Trump administration and fueled tensions between Sacramento and Washington. This growing divide is not merely ideological, it has tangible consequences for the lives of Californians. The Trump administration's efforts to repeal the Affordable Care Act, for example, threatened to strip millions of Californians of their health insurance. The administration's withdrawal from the Paris Climate Agreement was met with defiance from California, which has vowed to uphold the agreement's goals. Section 5. The legal quagmire of secession. While the economic and cultural arguments for Calexit may resonate with some, the legal path to secession is fraught with obstacles. The United States Constitution does not explicitly grant states the right to secede, and the Supreme Court has ruled that secession is unconstitutional. In the landmark case of Texas versus White in 1869, the Supreme Court ruled that the Union is indissoluble and that states cannot unilaterally secede. This ruling stemmed from the Civil War, in which the federal government successfully fought to prevent 11 southern states from seceding. The legal precedent established by Texas v. White poses a formidable barrier to Calexit. Proponents of secession would likely argue that the ruling is outdated and that California's unique circumstances warrant a re-examination of the issue. However, any attempt to secede would undoubtedly trigger a protracted legal battle, with the outcome far from certain. Section 6. Unraveling the Union Practical Challenges to Calexit. Beyond the legal hurdles, Calexit faces a host of practical challenges that would need to be addressed. Seceding from the United States would be a logistical and economic earthquake, with far-reaching consequences for California and the nation. One of the most pressing issues is that of borders and immigration. As an independent nation, California would need to establish its own border control and immigration policies. Given California's long and porous border with Mexico, this would be a daunting task, requiring significant investment in border security and enforcement. Another challenge is that of national defense. As part of the United States, California benefits from the protection of the most powerful military in the world. An independent California would need to develop its own military forces or forge alliances with other countries for protection. Section 7. California on the world stage. A new geopolitical player? If California were to secede, it would not only reshape the political landscape of the United States, but also send ripples across the global stage. As the world's fifth largest economy, an independent California would wield significant economic and political clout, potentially forging new alliances and challenging existing power structures. California's technological prowess, particularly in Silicon Valley, would make it a major player in the global tech industry. The state's entertainment industry, centered in Hollywood, would continue to exert a powerful influence on global culture. And California's commitment to renewable energy and environmental protection could position it as a leader in the fight against climate change. However, an independent California would also face challenges on the world stage. It would need to establish diplomatic relations with other countries and navigate the complex web of international treaties and agreements. It would also need to secure its borders and protect its interests in a world where power dynamics are constantly shifting. Section 8. A referendum on freedom, the uncertain future of Calexit. The future of the Calexit movement remains uncertain. While it has gained momentum in recent years, it faces significant legal, logistical, and political obstacles. Whether California ultimately chooses to remain part of the United States or chart its own course as an independent nation is a question that will likely continue to be debated for years to come. One potential path forward for the Calexit movement is through a referendum. A referendum would allow Californians to directly voice their opinion on whether the state should secede. However, even if a majority of Californians voted in favor of secession, it is unclear whether such a vote would be legally binding. The ultimate success or failure of the Calexit movement may hinge on a number of factors, including the political climate in Washington, D.C., the state of the U.S. economy, and the level of support for secession among Californians themselves. Only time will tell whether California will choose to remain a part of the Union or embark on the uncertain path of independence. Section 9. Conclusion. Navigating the fault lines of division. The Calexit movement is a symptom of the deep political and cultural divisions that have come to define the United States in the 21st century. As the nation grapples with issues of inequality, climate change, and social justice, the fault lines between California and the rest of the country have only grown wider. Whether or not California ultimately secedes, the movement itself highlights the need for a more unified and inclusive vision of America. It is a stark reminder that the bonds that hold the nation together are fraying, and that addressing the root causes of division is essential for the long-term health of American democracy. The Calexit debate is not simply about whether one state should leave the Union. It is a microcosm of the larger challenges facing the United States. It is a call to action for Americans to engage in a thoughtful and respectful dialogue about the future of their nation. and to find common ground amidst their differences.